Hi, this is Tara with Tara's Tips, Terrific Ink, Paper, and Stamps. And today I want to show you a card using the Ranunculus Romance stamp set, which we've got right here. And this is the card that we're going to be making. Light's not cooperating with me. It's a vintage style card, so we'll get started on that. I was originally going to do it in the Misty Moonlight, but I was making some for card fronts for in my customers, their bags with their orders, you know, kind of as a thank you gift. I like to put a card front in there when I deliver the orders. And I decided that the Misty Moonlight, I only have a tiny ink spot with the re-inker filled in there, and with what I was doing, I just decided that that wouldn't be the best way to do it. But then at the end, I did decide that I was going to make one in Misty Moonlight just to see, and I actually like how it turned out too. Originally, I was going to do it in the basic white instead of the very vanilla that I ended up using. But so I decided to go ahead and use the basic white anyway with the Misty Moonlight. So this is the one with the Misty Moonlight, and I like how it turned out, but I think that if I would do it again, I would do it with the very vanilla base instead of the basic white. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the Ranunculus Romance stamp set. It just gives you a whole vintage vibe, so of course I had to create a vintage card with it. And the Ranunculus dies are, these are the ones you've got. So I used this one, and this one in my card. And I also used the small rectangle in the Stitch So Sweetly. Oh, and we also have this, no, this one came from the Borders dies. When I first started making my card, I started out with this one. And I liked it, but I just wasn't sure I liked the borders around the edges. So I tried it again without the borders. No, that's not the one I tried again. I tried this one again without the borders, but I made the border stamps here a lot lighter, and I just wasn't sure. Kind of like this one because it popped more than this one, and I got some feedback from some different people, and they like this one better. But I also got the suggestion in my feedback to maybe try to do the border pieces more random, but to have them darker. So that is what I ended up with, and I like how that turned out. Leaving it darker, but not doing the border around. And I just thought it would be more of a pain to try to get your borders exactly how you wanted, and they didn't exactly fit on the card exactly the way I wanted. So I was more happy with this result. So this is the one that we are going to make, and then I just decorated the insides a little bit. So we shall get started. First, I'm going to take my stamp cut and emboss machine, put it here, and I've just gotten the new one. It's taken me a while. I said, why do I need that? I have the Big Shot, but I really do like how it folds up. It can fit in my one drawer pretty good. I just took a piece of the grid paper that fits in the Stamparatus and put that underneath my plate just to help me with the die that I was doing. So when I'm doing this, I am putting it against the edge here of my grid paper, and then I am laying my die down so that each end is equal. And it just takes a little bit to fiddle with it to get it where you want. I want it kind of like 2.5 bumps up on each side. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of masking tape there to hold it, and I'm putting masking tape only on the part that's not going to be part of my card, because otherwise it may put it may rip my card when I'm taking it off. So we're just passing that through and taking that off there. And then you're just pulling this off, and you can actually, see it ripped my paper a little bit there. You can actually use this piece of tape multiple times if you're making multiple cards. Okay, we're going to take our Calypso Coral ink, and this might be a little darker than my samples because as I was inking up my roses for my cards, I had to re-ink my pad because they weren't getting quite as dark as I wanted. So we'll see, this might end up a little darker than my sample ones, but that's okay. And I'm coming over from the other side. Sometimes I didn't go over quite as far, but I kind of like it to run into where I place my rose. So I'm going to do it most of the whole stamp. And then the last one, I didn't want to go over as far as my first one, so I wanted to keep it back a little bit. And next I came in with the stamp. Stamp here, and then I'm going to stamp again over here without re-inking. Gonna ink up again. Stamp right here. And then over here without re-inking. I'm going to stamp off, stamp here, and just a little bit coming up the bottom. Okay, so next I'm going to come in with my the stamp and go off the page a little bit. I'm going to stamp off with this one. And then again over here. And I'm going to come in with this stamp. Stamp right there. And there. And there. And let's stamp here without inking. So that looks pretty good. I've still got a few white spots, and I'm going to come in with my flower stamp and try to fill in a few of those. And one more right here. So we've got that nice vintagey look. And then I'm going to come in with my blending brush. Just give it a little bit of, make it more vintage. And then if you want your center, you can just kind of go over it lightly just to get a little bit in the center. And then I took my sponge dauber and I wanted the edges to be a little bit darker, so I'm just going around my edges with my dauber. Okay, so I like how that looks, so we're going to leave it like that. Pull that away for now. And I am going to bring my Stamparatus in. And I've got my flower piece already cut out. And I am just going to lay that in here. I've already gotten it lined up where it needs to be. It's almost in the corner, but not quite, because it didn't quite work if I put it in the corner. I don't think you're gonna see this too well. You can a little bit. If I stamped it on my sheet to put down to see where it needed to be. So we are gonna ink up the flower. And I'm going to pull it out with my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm going to put in the Stitch So Sweetly die here, or the cutout piece. And I just kind of match it up and make sure that it's where I want it, which it is. So I'm going to pull in that plate. Ink it up. Pull it out there. Okay, we're going to bring our scrap paper back in. And I am just going to go over real lightly so it's just not, the vanilla isn't as bright there. And then I'm going to come back in with my sponge dauber and do around the edge here. So we've got that. And I've also cut out already my pieces here, which I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on them. And once again, I'm using the fine tip glue bottle that has the multi-purpose glue inside. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that this is my preferred gluing method, and I don't particularly love the fine tip glue, so this was a nice alternative to have the glue that I liked with a finer tip. And I just like to let that sit and dry a little bit so it gets tacky. When you're doing fine detailed work like that, it's nice to let it get tacky. That way you're not having the glue ooze out and make a mess on your beautiful card front. So I'm just putting dimensionals around where I think they need to go. And then I'm coming in with an edge piece that I cut for the stem, so it has a little bit of support behind it. And then on this piece, I'm just going to put 3 along the back. Okay, so we're going to bring our card front back in. Put that right there. And this I kind of like covering the other stem. Have it up there. We've got our little greeting, and I like the Just For You because inside you could make it a birthday card, you could make it a thinking of you, a thank you, kind of anything. So as long as you haven't stamped anything in there, you could write whatever sentiment that you wanted inside. This is our inside piece, and I'm going to stamp this right down here. I'm going to stamp that off once. Put it there. Stamp a flower. And our little postage stamp yet. I'm going to stamp that off once. And I'm also going to bring in my blending brush and go around the edges. And we're going to come back in with the sponge dauber and get the edges darker. Okay, so that's our inside. And then for our envelope, I actually already started to stamp on it, and I was like, oh wait, that's the one I wanted to do for the video, so it's got part of it stamped on it already. I was finishing up my other envelopes because I like my envelopes to match my card, so it gives the recipient a little idea what the inside card's gonna look like, but not exactly. And then in this one, I think I am going to put the stamp instead of the postage stamp one. So that's our envelope. And then let's just glue in our card together. So we'll bring in our card base. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And my the vanilla piece I started with was 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. I left a little bit extra so I could put my tape on my card and cut it off better. And then we are going to glue this piece in. And then, like I said, when you're ready to use it, you could stamp in a birthday greeting or a thank you or a thinking of you, or you can just handwrite whatever you want inside. It depends on if you feel like pulling out your stamps and doing it that day, or if you just want to write your message. So there you've got that and the envelope. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. See, it is really easy to make a nice vintage card. It wasn't hard, so I'd like you to give it a try. And if you could let me know which one you like better, either the Misty Moonlight one or the Calypso Coral. Put them there together. And if you like this video, if you can give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, if you want to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I put up more videos. I will list all the products that I used today in the description below, so you can not worry about that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment.